it's Miss Caitlin from the Fibo Kids Art Academy, and today we are continuing in our Around the World series. We're going to be visiting the country of Spain today. We're going to learn all about the map, where the country is, the capital, and of course some famous destinations. So keep on watching. All right, so let's get started. So there's a couple of different ways you can do this project, as you've probably heard me mention many times before. You can either do the book version, which is what I'm going to do, where we draw all of our images onto pieces of watercolor paper. So these are all different pieces of watercolor paper. You can just make the images onto there, and the map and the destinations. The second way to do this project is you make a giant wall map. So for that, you would take maybe like 2 pieces of watercolor paper, tape them together at the back, and that way you're able to create your map on this enormous piece of paper. It's so big it doesn't fit on the screen, but you get the idea. And then what you would do, instead of doing the destinations on those large pieces of paper, you would cut up maybe like 1 inch by 1 inch squares of paper, and you would draw all the different places onto there. So for example, I have all these little destinations here, and you would draw them, and then that way you're able to place them where you can see each city. So now that we kind of know what we're doing, let's go ahead and get started. Pick the way that you want to do this project. I'm going to do the book version, but you are more than welcome to do the map version. Now to start off, we are going to draw the map of Spain. So I'm going to go ahead and get my paper ready. If you need to pause the video and prepare your large map, go ahead and do that. Now I want you guys to use a pencil for this project, and we'll use the Sharpie and all the colors later. We're actually not going to do a final or a practice draw for this one. We're only going to do a final draw because, again, the shapes are so easy, we can really just jump right into it. We have a lot of places to visit, so I don't want to waste any time. Now, just so that you can see better, I'm going to be using my Sharpie as always, and we can go ahead and get started. Now, the country of Spain is in the continent Europe, so we're still hanging out in Europe, and it's actually on the farthest west side. The last country on the edge of Europe on the west side is Portugal, which would be over here today, and Spain will be in the middle. Now, for the top part of Spain, it kind of, to me, looks like it would be an upside-down top hat, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like a rectangular shape. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to go first to like this far corner here. I want you to make sort of like a diagonal wavy line, go over to the other side and draw another kind of diagonal wavy line. After you have those two, I want you to draw a horizontal wavy line all the way across. Next, I want you to start over here. Draw a short wavy line in, a long wavy line down. Do a curved wavy line. We're going to do like a little U shape here, and then we're going to go up again. So we're going to do a curved line with waves up. You can see this is no longer what looks like the bottom of a top hat, or rather, I guess the top part of a top hat, if that makes sense. And now it's starting to look more like the country shape. Now let's go ahead and head back here to this guy, because we haven't drawn anything with him yet. I want you to do a C shape, but of course we're going to do the wavy lines to make it look more like the country. All you have to do is connect. Bam, the country of Spain. Now we're going to draw some parts of the land, the other parts of the continent and other countries that are just bordering Spain. So I want you to go to this little corner right here. I want you to draw a wavy line out. Go to the top here, wavy line out, a little one. And last but not least, we're going to draw a vertical wavy line just about here out. Just make sure it ends there. All right, so there we have it, the country of Spain. Now let's go ahead and draw in where we want the flag to be. Now the Spanish flag is really beautiful. It has these red stripes on the top and the bottom, and then it has this really big yellow stripe in the middle. The Spanish flag does have a coat of arms on it, but that's going to be way too complicated for us to try and fit in here today. So we're going to exclude that from our drawing, or exclude that from our map, but we'll still draw the stripes. Now, like I said, this yellow stripe in the middle has to be the biggest, so we want the top and the bottom to be smaller than the one in the middle. To do this, I'm going to start maybe just about here on my map. I'm going to draw a horizontal line across. Make it nice and even as best you can. Then I'm going to go towards the bottom, maybe about here. I'm going to draw another horizontal line that's a wave across. Last but not least, let's go ahead and place the capital of Spain. So the capital of Spain is Madrid. Now, Madrid is just about here on a map of Spain. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little dot and write Madrid. So you can go ahead and write that out as well. All right. Now, once you have that written out, you can feel free to add any more extra little drawings. I'm going to draw like a little boat up here and then maybe like some octopus tentacles coming off on the bottom, just to make the map a little more interesting. You do not have to add these things if you don't want to, but I think it might be fun. So let's just take a second to add in any extra things that we might want to see. For me, that's going to be this boat here. Maybe for you, it's like a fish jumping out of the water. Both this area and this area are water, I should say. We'll do like a little curvy line here for like a tentacle coming out of the water. Of course, you could also draw like a whale. You could draw just a lot of boats, really. Anything you like. All right. So once you have that all drawn out, I want you to take maybe a minute or two, and I want you to outline all of these lines in Sharpie in some kind of permanent marker. Now, I've already done that, so you can pause the video to do this part. However, if you don't have a permanent marker, try and find, maybe you could do like a black color pencil or anything like that. The reason why it does need to be a permanent marker or just a material that will not run away or like bleed is because I'm going to be using watercolor. Now, if you're not using watercolor, you can really use whatever you want to outline everything with. So go ahead and figure out what you need for your project. And I want you to go ahead and just take a minute or two to outline everything. All right, so I assume you're all done outlining. Once you resume the video, we're going to go ahead and begin on our coloring. Now, for our coloring today, I'm going to show you just some fancy things that you can do, and then we're going to use watercolor. Now, I have oil pastels here, so I'm going to start with these. And don't worry, we are going to get to the landmarks. We're just going to finish up our map first. Now, with my oil pastels, I am going to do like an outline around the borders here of Spain. You do not have to do this. This is kind of like an extra thing. Now, I know in the middle here it's going to be yellow, so I'm going to do like an orange outline on the sides. If you don't have oil pastels, maybe you can use like a crayon. You could even do this in color pencil, or you could just do this in marker. I'm just going to do the sides there. I don't really want to do the parts of where the flag are going to be. And then these two are going to be red eventually. So I'm going to go ahead and outline those edges with a red. Again, this is extra fancy work. You don't have to do this part if you feel like it's just going to be too much work for you. Totally optional. Make sure you press pretty hard along the edges if you're using like an oil pastel or a crayon like me. When we go over this in watercolor, this oil pastel is not going to move. It resists the watercolor because oil and water don't mix. All right, I'm going to go ahead and outline these borders of these other countries with I'm thinking a light green today, or kind of like this yellow green. That might be a little too light. Might go in with this regular green instead. I'm going to unwrap it a little bit, I think, or just take the whole wrapper off while we're at it. Oh yes, that's much better. So I'm going to use this color. Just kind of outline the edges here. Now when I'm done with this, little outlines, I'm going to fill in any extra details with my oil pastel. So that way when I go to watercolor the ocean and the sea down here, coloring for that won't move. So for my boat, I'm going to do probably like a red and a gold. For you, maybe you added something else. You can go ahead and just fill those in, or whatever it is that you added with whatever colors you like. It's your map after all. Do like a line of gold color here. I'll do the top part gold as well. Maybe I'll use my white and add just a little bit of steam coming out of there. You can't see it now really, but when we do watercolor, you'll see it. All right, and then I'm thinking for the octopus, I'm probably gonna do like red on one side and then pink on the other, just to make it look like it has some shading. Alrighty, and again, probably gonna go with like this peachy color, peachy pink. We'll just fill that in. Give it a little blend maybe. And there we go. Now if you want to add even more stuff, you could add mountain ranges, you could even add a couple of rivers if you want to do more research on where those rivers are located. I'm probably just going to add some lines for water, and then I'm going to continue on to our coloring. But you can see here I added in some like rivers where they are in Spain, as well as just a couple of mountain ranges. All right, so for the water, I'm going to do light blue today. Do little wavy lines. You can add as many of these as you like. They don't have to be all the same either. Maybe like a couple of dark blue ones. This will just make the map look a little more interesting. All right, I think that's all I'm gonna add, and I'm gonna set my oil pastels aside. Now I'm gonna break out my watercolors. Now for my watercolor, I'm gonna fill in first the flag of Spain, and then we will do the two pieces of land over here, and then we'll do the ocean and the Mediterranean Sea down here. This is the Atlantic Ocean, by the way. All right, so I'm gonna start with the yellow first for this gold part here. If you wanna mix yourself up a gold color, or even if you have like gold paint, that might be kind of fun to fill this area in with that color. But I'm just gonna do yellow. Now, you might be wondering, what is the meaning of the Spanish flag? We've been talking a lot about flag meanings, and they're usually very much symbolic of something important to the country. Now, Spain, like many of the countries we visited, has been around for a very long time. It's also been, the country of Spain for a really, really long time. And depending on what part of Spain or Spanish history you look at, obviously there's going to be a little bit of different kind of ways we talk about it and different kind of ways we refer to the flag. As such, different meanings. So the flag, some people think it could represent bullfighting, which is something that is popular in Spain. Like the red represents like the flag that they wave, while the yellow is like the sand or the dirt of the arena. It could probably mostly be, and this is what people believe, because again, this flag has been around for a while. Some people believe it was just the colors chosen for King Ferdinand II coat of arms. So we think it was probably just what was selected for that King of Spain's coat of arms. Now, we're not drawing it here, like I said, but there is a coat of arms, or like a symbol that's on the Spanish flag. It's on the left of the Spanish flag if you Google it later. Now, what that is, it is a combination of 6 coat of arms, actually, representing the 6 kingdoms that used to make up the country of Spain. So Spain at one point had these 6 major kingdoms. And sort of to honor that on their flag, it's the combination of all their coat of arms on that left side. Again, I encourage you to maybe Google it after our class today so you can see. It's very pretty. It's very detailed. So you can kind of already see I'm filling in my top stripe with red. I'm being very careful around the edges. As I get into these little corners, again, you've probably heard me say this thousands of times, but I am using the very top of the brush, like this, so that way I can get into those little nooks and crannies, especially around those little wavy lines that we didn't outline. The watercolor is not going to resist that line right there because there's no oil pastel there, so I got to be really careful. Try and do your long strokes too. That's just going to help the watercolor look a little bit more even. I'm going to jump down to this bottom stripe here and fill that in. To me, the Spanish flag reminds me kind of like a sunset with the yellow and the red. All right, once you have the flag done, go ahead and fill in these little land masses here that are next to Spain. Those are the countries that border Spain. We're going to fill this one in over here. I'm going to do a light green. But you can do any kind of green you want. I'm trying to keep the colors very bright, kind of to go with how bright the Spanish flag is. Now I wonder if you can guess, it's probably really obvious by now, what language they speak in Spain. If you guess Spanish, you are correct. Spain is actually the country where Spanish comes from. So I told you this country was Portugal, which it is. This is Portugal over here to Spain to the west. Yeah, to the west. And over here, it's the country of France. We learned about that one a while ago. And it borders France on its eastern side here, kind of towards the north as well. Alrighty, so now we're going to go ahead and fill in the ocean. You can really choose whatever blue or blue-violet you want. I'm going to stick to just maybe a regular blue. I'm going to use this kind of turquoisey color, I think, instead, actually. I'm just going to fill in my ocean with this color. In, filling it in. Now, as you probably guessed, Europe is full of a lot of really, really old countries. So a lot of the landmarks we've been visiting have been super duper old. Some of them, in fact, ancient, like we learned with Greece. Spain's landmarks that we're going to be visiting, some of them are really old, but actually some of them are fairly new, which we'll talk about when we get to them. Right, so again, I'm being very careful as I get around like these edges here. Now I don't have to worry too much about those octopus tentacles there, just because they're oil pastel, so even if I go over them with watercolor, the watercolor is not going to stay there. It's going to go around it because the oil pastel will resist the water. However, as I get close to these edges, even though the oil pastel is still going to resist that watercolor, I might accidentally go over them and into my flag. So I'm being very careful still around those edges, even if I outlined an oil pastel. And I'm still trying to do my long strokes just to keep everything neat. If your brush starts doing that, where like the paint kind of starts looking a little bit like brushy, or you can see like the strokes of the individual bristles, that means you need more water on your brush and you might even need more color. Usually it means you need more water. All right, almost there. Now, if you were on this boat and you kept sailing that way a little bit, you would run into the country of England as well as Ireland. Those are two islands that are just about over here, if our map went that far. And then, if you went this way a little bit, southwards, you would run into the continent of Africa, an entirely new continent from Europe, which is pretty cool. All right, spreading out that last little bit of watercolor there. And we're done. All right, we're gonna let this map dry a little bit now. So let's go ahead, clean off our brush and set this paper aside. I'm gonna also set my watercolors aside here. And now what I want us to do is I want us to go ahead and get out our stuff to make our landmarks. Now, if you are doing the book version like me, again, that's just gonna be another piece of watercolor paper. If you are doing the map version, where it's the giant map, you're gonna need your little pieces of paper. So again, I'm gonna be doing the book version, but if you're doing the map version, no worries. You can still follow along just fine. Now you're gonna do this part in your pencil again with your eraser, but I'm gonna do it in Sharpie just so that you can see. Now what I want us to do, if you're doing the book version, we need to make 2 squares or 2 rectangles here to show 2 of our landmarks. If you are doing the square version, you already have your square, so you can skip this step and wait for us to put in the landmark itself. But let's go ahead and draw in 2 squares or 2 rectangles here. You can use a ruler for this part if you want to, or a straight edge. I'm just going to go ahead and draw them in. You probably just saw I turned my paper, and that's just because I'm making it more comfortable for myself to make these straight lines. Don't be afraid to also do the same. If you need to turn your paper so that it's more comfortable for you to make the straight lines, go for it. You don't want to be uncomfortable while you're trying to draw something so precise, right? All right, so there's our first 2. If you need to pause the video at any point, by the way, as we're making these landmarks, please feel free to do so. These landmarks that we're doing are gonna be, they're not hard at all, but they are a little bit of interesting shapes, if that makes sense. And the spellings of their names are gonna be a little long. Now, the first place we're going to is a place in Madrid, the capital of Spain. So we're gonna put Madrid at the top here of our first box. So there's how you spell Madrid, M-A-D-R-I-D. And the place that we're visiting is called Puerta del Sol. My Spanish is a little rough, so please forgive me on pronunciation, but we're gonna write it down here. All right. And that basically means in English, door of the sun. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna draw out the Puerta del Sol here. And what that basically is, or sorry, door of the sun, gate of the sun is more what it means. Basically what it is, it's this public square in Madrid. It's best known for being the busiest place in the city. It's also the center for the radial network of Spanish roads. What that means is that all these roads, all the roads lead to Spain, really in Spain, or lead to Madrid in Spain. Well, all the roads in Spain lead to Madrid. And Madrid, when you're counting the numbers for roads, is 0, if that makes sense. Now we're gonna go ahead and draw the building. So watch where I place these lines and then you give it a try. The first thing we're gonna draw is sort of like this fountain or this kind of like just center part here, just so that we have it in place and we don't accidentally not leave room for it. This is basically an oval shape right here. So go ahead and just draw a very, very slim oval. And then we'll start on the building itself. So now let's go above that slightly, and I want you to draw just a long horizontal line. Then draw 2 straight lines up, not too tall. Then I want you to go kind of towards the middle here, and I want you to draw another 2 straight lines up, but these 2 need to be taller than the ones we just made. Now I want you to go ahead and draw a horizontal line and a horizontal line. And then you're going to draw another horizontal line to connect those 2 top ones. You can see this middle square is much larger than these 2. Last but not least, there's kind of like this clock tower at the top here. So we're just gonna draw another 2 straight lines up and then connect with a rainbow. And now we can draw some details. So for this, we are actually going to draw 2 horizontal lines in the middle all the way across. So watch where I place them first. So I'm gonna go ahead and start just about here, draw a horizontal line all the way across. I'm gonna go up a little bit. I'm going to draw another horizontal line all the way across. All right. Now for extra details, we can draw a horizontal line on the top of the bell tower, or sorry, the clock tower. Then right here, we're going to draw a mountain. And now we're going to draw some windows. There's a bunch of windows on the Puerta del Sol. So I'm going to draw maybe 3 squares here, and then 3 squares down here. Same thing on the bottom. And of course we need a door. What would it be without a door? So I'm going to draw just a rainbow for the door. Now right now it looks like this building is floating, which we don't want. So go ahead and draw a little horizon line in the background to make it look like it's sitting on the ground itself. And there you have it, that's our first place. Next, we're gonna go to Barcelona. Barcelona is very, very famous, and we are gonna be drawing a very famous church from Barcelona. Now, the name is kind of long, and even the name Barcelona is kind of long, so let me write it out for you first, and then you can pause the video and write it down. So Barcelona. B-A-R-C-E-L-O-N-A, Barcelona. And then I'm going to go ahead and spell out the name of this place here. Again, it's kind of long, so I'll write it out for you and then you can pause the video to copy it down. It's called Basilica. Now this is important. Some of these names have a little accent mark over the I, so keep an eye out for when those get written down. So Basilica de la Sagrada Familia. This I also has an accent mark over it. So I know that's kind of long. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to copy that down for a second. And let's go ahead, once you're ready, we can begin on the place. So the first thing I want us to draw is actually something in the foreground. There's kind of like this body of water that's in front of the basilica. Now, what the basilica is, it's this huge, unfinished Roman Catholic minor basilica. Now that's kind of big. Basically, it's this huge, unfinished church. The architect expected this to be completed in the year 2026. So we're almost there. It's still unfinished to this day. If you can believe it, this basilica was started in 1882. So you do the math on that and tell me how old this church is and how long it hasn't been done. Let's go ahead and draw it. Now for this, there are these kind of like green plants that are in front of it here. So I'm going to go to the side. I'm just going to draw a bunch of rainbow lines. And then maybe a straight line on the bottom there. See, it kind of looks like a bush or maybe a tree. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to draw a bunch of sort of rainbows. And finish that off with like horizontal line on the bottom. Next, we're going to go ahead and draw the land that the basilica is sitting on. So I'm just going to draw a horizontal line from each end of those bushes there, or those large trees. They could be either. And then we're going to start on the basilica itself. Now let me show you a picture of this building just so that you don't think I'm leading you astray as we're trying to draw it. So this is a picture of the basilica that we're going to be drawing. You can see this part, to me, it kind of looks like a crown. So you can kind of think of it that way as we begin to draw. And here's also the rest of the church. It's really beautiful in real life, and even if you see pictures of it, it's absolutely stunning. Now to start, let's go ahead and do those 3 triangles, or those 3 kind of like triangular shapes that are in the front. So I'm going to go just about here. I'm going to draw this kind of curved triangle shape, kind of like you were about to make a leaf almost. Then coming off of each side here, make a short curved line and a short curved line, kind of like it's raising its hands. Then draw a curved line down and a curved line down. Then you're going to repeat those shapes on the inside of each of these shapes. So it looks like this. Okay? Now we're going to do those spires that are coming out of it, the part that to me looks a lot like a crown. We're going to start with the one right here that's going in between these 2 sides here. To do this, we're basically drawing like a really long mountain shape. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to draw a long curved line down, or just a long straight line down, whatever you're more comfortable with. And then you're going to draw a circle on the top. Then you are also going to draw little horizontal lines, kind of like, think of it like a cap almost. Same thing other side. We're going to draw again those 2 lines down. Circle, little line to cap it off. All right, last 2. So for this one, we're going to start from about here. You're going to draw a diagonal line down. It should touch maybe the tip of this triangle that we made earlier. Then you're going to draw another diagonal line down, little circle, little horizontal line. Same thing other side. Start maybe about here, diagonal line down, circle on the top, finish that off with a little cap. All right, you did it. Next, we're going to go ahead and draw the rest of the building here. This part is a lot easier. So what we're going to do is, we know that it needs to end over by this kind of crown area. So let's start off the building here. So I'm going to go here and draw just a vertical line down. And all you're going to do is you're going to draw 4 of these mountain shapes across. Or like W's if you think about it. Once you have that, we're going to go to the tops here, and we're going to draw little mountains in between each one. This is the back part of the building, or the part that's a little bit taller. Last but not least, we're just going to draw a couple of windows here, or archways. To do that, I am just drawing a horizontal line, and then drawing a rainbow on top. So you need 4 of those as well. And check it out, you did it. You drew the basilica. Alrighty, once you have this, let's go ahead and set this aside. Don't worry, you'll still get to color it, but I do want to give you all of the places just so that you can color things as you like as we get them all drawn out. So go ahead and set this aside. And let's take out our next paper. And if you're doing the map, the next little squares for our new locations that we're going to visit. Now, the next place we are going to visit is called the Guggenheim Museum, and it's in a place called Bilbao. Now, again, we need to go ahead and draw in our rectangle, so let's go ahead and do that now. Again, if you are doing the map version, you don't have to do this part. It says, well, should be done in pencil. I'm just doing it in Sharpie so that you can see. All right. So again, pause the video if you need to, but I'm going to go ahead and get us started here. So I'm going to write the name of the city up here. It's Bilbao. B-I-L-B-A-O. And Guggenheim, as you can probably imagine, is not a Spanish word, but we are going to go ahead and write it down here. It's just what the museum is called. So it's kind of long, but it goes G-U-G-G. That should be an E, pardon me, and then an N. G-U-G-G-E-N. H-E-I-M. Guggenheim. Museum. Bilbao. All right, so take a minute to write that out, and when you're ready, let's begin on the building itself. Now, the Guggenheim is in Bilbao is a museum for modern and contemporary art. It was designed by the Canadian-American architect Frank Gehry, which maybe some of you who have been in our Fibo classes before remember. Now, this museum was founded in October of 1997, so it is much younger, I guess, in comparison to the other buildings that we were looking at. Now, it's considered this innovative design, and it pairs really well, at least, you know, it's considered to pair really well with Bilbao's kind of urban surrounding area. It's very modern looking, I would say, and it's huge. We're just going to draw a small portion of it today. Now, it's going to look kind of interesting as a building, but trust me on this one, okay? First, we're going to draw a little chunk of it that's right here. So I want you to draw two kind of curved lines right here. Not too curved, just a little bit. Then I want you to start from this line right here, and I want you to draw a really big U shape, kind of like that. Make sure that your lines connect as well. And then go ahead and connect the top here with a short rainbow. And then starting from about here on this section, I want you to draw a line out and then connect these two lines with a vertical line. Next, I want you to divide this space in half. Start about maybe here and go ahead and draw a line all the way across to the other side. Now we're going to draw kind of this top part here. It looks really cool. I want you to draw two diagonal lines here and here. Last but not least, I want you to connect the rainbow. Now we need to draw two stripes on the inside of here. So I want you to just take your time. Draw one stripe and two stripes. There we have it. That's a part of the museum. Of course, we don't want it to look like it's floating, so make sure you draw a horizon line in the background. And there you have it. Next, we're going to go ahead and draw another cathedral, another church. Now, this one is in the city of Seville. Now, for this, we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and write the things out instead. So I'll write out Seville for you. Seville is the English version of this town's name. In Spanish, it's actually Sevilla, but in English, we call it Seville. And the place that we're visiting here is the Seville Cathedral. All right. In Spanish, the name for this place is the Catedral de Sevilla, or Seville Cathedral. Now, this is considered to be a World Heritage Site. It's the 10th largest church in the world still, and it's the largest Gothic-style church. Now, this church was completed in the early 16th century. That means the 1500s. It took over 100 years to make, and it's built to sort of demonstrate the power and wealth of Seville during that time. Now, that makes this what? Like a 600-ish year old church? It's crazy old. So let's go ahead and draw it. Now, this church, we're going to draw in perspective. So I want you to be really patient with yourself. If it doesn't turn out right on the first try, that's okay. Just, pause the video, readjust as you need. Now, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to draw a tall rectangle right here on your paper or on your box. So a tall rectangle right here. Next, what I want you to do is I want you to draw two sort of slanted lines like this. And then I want you to draw a vertical line like so. You do want some of it to be on the top there, kind of like it has a tail. Next, I want you to draw 2 little straight lines up like this. And then we're going to draw, oh wait a second, we got to add some little parts right here, some spires. I want you to actually make these quite tall. Then draw 2 little horizontal lines straight down like this. So you're basically making 2 very tall rectangles here. Then I want you to draw another horizontal line. Then I want you to draw another diagonal, or just another very slanted line on the top there. All right, again, if you need to pause the video to just copy that down, go for it. Next, we're gonna go ahead and draw the next part of the building here, which is this sort of rectangular piece. All right, so what I want you to do, I want you to go just about here and draw a short diagonal line out. Make sure it's going this way. You're going to go towards the top and you're going to draw a diagonal line out going that way. So it kind of looks like they're going out in opposite directions. Next, I want you to connect those with a straight line. Now from this straight line, I want you to draw a short diagonal line, this time going inwards. Same thing on the other side. This time it's going inwards. Then you're going to connect again with a straight line. So now it looks like it's a 3D rectangular shape. Now we're going to go ahead and do the easiest part. There's this tower that's in the back here. So all you're going to do is draw just a really, really tall rectangle, just like so. And then we are going to go ahead and divide that little part right here. So go ahead and draw a horizontal line. Draw another short rectangle on top. And then another maybe rectangle or a square on top, kind of like you're making a cake. There's this little spire at the top there, so go ahead and just draw a little line to show that. And then you can add in the windows. I'm just doing rainbows to show the windows. Now on the top of this part of the cathedral, there is sort of like this triangular shape. So we're just going to draw a triangle on top there, or like a mountain. Last but not least, there are these kind of archways here. They have these really beautiful sort of like circular windows. We're just going to draw in the window part because they're the part you can see really defined from far away. There we have it. There's the cathedral. Let's go ahead and put this on a horizon line. I'm going to go ahead and draw a horizontal line here. And I'm actually going to put some like foliage, so like trees and stuff on these sides. So it's actually going to cover up the horizon line, I know, a little bit here. So I'm going to draw in that tree first. Again, I'm just doing kind of like these U shapes and rainbows all over again. Same thing, I'm going to do that on the other side. And there you go. Now, congratulations, you've made it this far. Good job. So now what I want you to do is I want you to outline all of your drawings in Sharpie. Now, if you are doing the square version, or rather the map version here, you can see I actually did not use Sharpie to outline any of these. I used maybe like a black color pencil or a very, very thin marker, or even a pen. That would be good for these ones because they're so small, but if you are doing the book version, you're going to want to do a Sharpie or something permanent. Now what you can do is you can go ahead and color these in how you like. I'll show you kind of what these look like all colored in because I know you've spent a lot of time drawing them today. So outline everything first with a Sharpie, and then you can pause the video on this screen to see how we colored them in. I used lots of oil pastels, markers to color all of our buildings today. I think the most important thing that you should know is that these top 2 buildings are primarily whites and grays with obvious little details like this one, the Puerta del Sol, has these red windows. And then the Basilica as well as the Seville Cathedral, they are this very like gold color, which are very, very beautiful. So go ahead and take some time to color in your pictures how you like. Remember, you do want to try and keep them close to their original colors for their buildings. These are real places that we were trying to visit. So I'll leave these here for you to look at. As well, for special to our Spain project, you can see I outlined the edges with red and yellow, the colors of the Spanish flag. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but you can. I also did the same thing on our squares here. So go ahead and take some time to do that. Pause the screen here, and then I'll show you where you can place your cities and your locations on your map. All right, so if you want to know where to place your different cities, if you're doing the map version, let me go ahead and show you. So here is our map of Spain again. It's back. Once you're done, you can go ahead and place in your cities. Now, obviously, we already know where Madrid is because we marked it on our map. So you can go ahead and maybe place your Puerta del Sol there. Now, Seville is actually in the south part of Spain. It's actually just about here. So we would want to put the Seville Cathedral there. Barcelona is on the eastern side. It's kind of on the edge here. So you're going to want to put Barcelona here. And then Bilbao is actually on the coast on this northern part of Spain. So you're going to want to put the Bilbao Guggenheim Museum there. And there's your locations. You can glue them down. You can keep them. So I hope you had a lot of fun visiting Spain with me today. I sure had a lot of fun. I love the colors that we see in all the different locations that we visited, as well as the Spanish flag. I just like the colors. Red is my favorite after all. So what you can do now is finish up your coloring. I know it might take some time, but when you're done, we would love to see the work that you've created. So share your maps and all of your different landmarks with us on our Fibo Village Facebook page. And make sure you can tag as well me, or you can mention maybe something that you learned or something you remember with Spain. Now, just to review with you, Spain is a European country, so it is in the continent of Europe. The capital is Madrid. The flag colors are red and gold, or red and a yellow. There's a coat of arms. I encourage you to go and research that to see what it looks like. It is on the left side of the Spanish flag, so you'll be able to see it. And hopefully you can remember some of the facts from our different landmarks we visited. Again, thank you so much, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.